Let's begin with our top focus story as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to arrive in Israel shortly. He, remember, is on a two-day state visit at the invitation of his dear friend and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is Modi's second trip to the country, and this is aimed at further strengthening the robust India-Israel strategic partnership that has only grown in the recent years. The leaders will be reviewing the cooperation across various sectors that particularly includes defense, also innovation, agriculture, water management, trade and investment, as well as regional and global challenges. Modi will also be meeting with President Isaac Herzog, and in a historic first, he will be addressing the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, a tribute to the democratic ties binding the two nations together. There's also an interaction with the Indian diaspora that is planned. By the way, the diaspora is very, very confident that this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's will only be setting new goals for a resilient and prosperous future between India and Israel. Let's in fact take this across to our special guests who are in fact joining us. So we have Oli Weitzman, who's the Consul General of Israel to South India. He's now with us. Ma'am is with us on the broadcast. Ms. Weitzman, in fact, thank you so much for joining us. Let me first begin by asking you, as this historic trip is underway, very shortly we will in fact hear that announcement of the Indian Prime Minister landing in Tel Aviv. How do you assess this particular visit? How will this strengthen the strategic partnership between the two nations, India and Israel?
So first of all, thank you for having me here. I think I'm very excited to be here on this very special day. I think this visit, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel, is basically the epitome of the relationship between the two countries. I think it's the strongest demonstration of the warmth and the closeness and the partnership that Israel and India have been witnessing for the past few years. And this is a very special day for Israelis and for Indians. And I'm looking forward to the rest of to the beginning of the visit. I'm waiting for him to land and to see him, step onto the soil of Israel. It won't be for the first time, of course. He's already visited Israel in the past, but I think every time that he comes is a very special occasion for us.
Ms. Weitzman, I'd also want to understand from you, how does this particular visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi go ahead and impact India's broader Middle East policy? Because so far, there's so much of chatter around India's traditional Palestinian position. Is this a break from that position, and also vis-a-vis Iran?
So again, I think that Israel and India, the partnership is very, very stable, very well known, and very important to both parties. And I think that the visit today is a testament of that. I think, of course, a question about Indian policy should be directed at Indian officials and not at Israeli officials. We are very happy with the partnership. We're looking we're looking forward very much to deepen the very strong relationship they already have, and we'll see this happening during the visit. We'll see it happening after the visit, and this is something again that benefits both parties and is very strategic both to Israel and to India, because we face very similar challenges. We face very similar ways we want to grow. So I think there's so much commonality in the relationship that this is something that a really good opportunity to take forward.
Ma'am, the full diplomatic ties between India and Israel were established way back in 1992. How do you see those evolving since then?
So again, I think the relationship evolved as the world evolved. So we've seen for the past 15, 20 years, we've seen a strengthening of the relationship, and we see partnerships in many different fields. We see them in agriculture, we see them in water, we see them in defense tech, we see them in many, many different fields. Wherever we look, we see this happening. But I think the past 2 years, Israel was facing a war with 7 fronts, and India gave unwavering support. And I think that's something that we Israelis, we took notice of that, and we saw the support that Prime Minister Modi and India gave to Israel during a very, very difficult time that we faced. And so I think that these past 2 years, and of course the difficulties that India faced during this time with Sindoor, I think that was a testament of the very similar challenges that we face. We both nations are democracies who value democratic values but have to deal with terrorism, and this is something that brings us very close together. And I think that the relationship in that respect, the past 2 years were the real show of strength of the relationship, even though it has been growing, like you said, since 1992. And even before these very difficult times, the relationship was strong. But the last 2 years really showed and demonstrated this strength.
So, Ms. Weitzman, countering terrorism will be a key aspect that we are hoping will be a part of the Prime Minister's address while he addresses the Israeli Parliament. But, and there's so much, of course, that has been said on the cooperation vis-a-vis defense. But one must also note that there is going to be an expansion in cooperation in agriculture and also water management. That also becomes important.
Yeah, so I was saying we were talking before about how the relationship evolved and we're talking about the sectors which agriculture and water are the most obvious. Of course, there are many others, but the world is changing. Not just Israel, not just India. The whole world is changing, and so now, if before agriculture and water were the main concerns, and they still are, they're a very important part. But today we're facing areas that we didn't exist before: AI,